Hi, fifth graders. Welcome to our math class. During this week, we will be multiplying decimals and problem solving with decimals. Our objectives this week are to multiply decimals using partial products and to use previously learned concepts and skills to represent and solve problems. By the end of this week, we will be able to find the product of multi-digit decimals. Now, I will show you through an example how to use the partial product method to find the product of two decimals. The partial product method is a process for multiplying whole numbers that can also be used for multiplying decimals. In this example, I'll show you how we can break apart each of these decimals or factors to use the partial product method. We're going to start taking the first digit, 1 and 7/10. This number 1 is in the ones place. We're going to place it up here, showing the place value, the ones place. Number 7 is in the 10th place, and it will be placed here, showing the expanded form how to write that number. We're going to repeat the same process for 1 and 5/10. Number 1 is in the ones place. So I'm going to write it here. And 5 is in the 10th place. I'm going to write it here. Now I'm going to multiply each one of these digits, and I'm going to use the quadrants to record the procedure. I'm going to start here with 1, this one here, okay, times these other one up here. And the result of multiplying these, I'll keep it in the same first quadrant. Next, I'll multiply 1 here on the left times 7/10 up here. I'm going to write it inside the quadrant to keep my procedure visible for you guys. And 1 times 7/10 equals 70/10. I'm going to repeat the exact same thing for 5/10 times 1 up here. I'm going to write 5/10 times 1, and the product of that multiplication would be 1500. And finally, I'm going to do the exact same thing for 5/10 times 7/10. And the result I obtain is 3500. Once I have all of my products, then I proceed to add the partial products. I'm going to copy the multiplication that I want to solve. And now I'm going to use the answers or the products that I have. The first quadrant, I have 1. In the second quadrant, I have 70 hundredths. On the third quadrant, I have 50 hundredths. And on the last quadrant, I have 35 hundredths. Now that I have all my partial products, I'm going to add them up. On the hundredths place, I have 5. In the 10th place, that would be 15. I write 5 and I carry 1. 1 plus, well, I bring down my decimal point aligned, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. So this is how I apply the partial product method to find the answer to multiplying two decimals. Next, I'm going to use the same exercise to model the standard algorithm method. Now I'm going to apply the standard algorithm method to solve the same exercise we did before. I'm going to write my exercise. So the first factor is 1 and 7/10 times 1 and 5/10. This is the regular way in which we multiply. we are going to pretend that those decimal points are not there, and we are going to perform a regular whole number multiplication. So I'm going to start by taking this digit 5 down here, and this number 5 is going to multiply every digit above from the right to the left. So first we say 5 times 7, which is 35. I'll write 5 down here, and I carry 3. Then I go and I multiply 5 times 1. This is 5 plus 3 that I'm carrying will be 8. The next step, as you must remember, is to place a 0 here to remind me that we're not using that spot. And we continue with the next digit. This number 1 will multiply once again everything above from the right to the left. So I start with 1 times 7. 1 times 7 is 7. Then I multiply 1 times 1. That's going to be 1. Now that I have these done, I'm going to add these numbers, or partial product, and I'll do that from the right to the left. 5 plus 0 is 5. 8 plus 7 is 15, so I write 5 and carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. My product is done. Now I'm going to come back to the factors, and I need to see how many factors are decimals. In this example, both factors are decimals, so I'm going to count the digits behind the decimal point or after. The first factor has a number 7 after the decimal point. That's one digit. The second factor has a number 5 after the decimal point, a second digit. So 2 digits in my factors, that means that my product must have 2 digits after the decimal point as well. This number 5 is the first digit. This other number 5 is the second digit, and this is where I am going to place my decimal point for a final product of 2 and 55 hundredths. Now that you've seen both methods, you guys may decide which one you think is easier and which is best for you. See you guys in class.